my name is Dave, and today we're going to be going over the installation of the Midwest Industries SCAR Extended Length Handguard. The extended handguard adds 6 inches of usable space to the rifle and is extremely rigid and lightweight. It allows the rifle to be fully serviced, including removal of the gas piston. Installation of the extended handguard is pretty straightforward. However, you will need some small tools as well as a small torch to remove some high heat thread locker during the process. Gunsmith installation is recommended because of that. If any part of the instructions don't make sense or any part of this video seem overwhelming to you, don't hesitate to seek the assistance of a qualified gunsmith or armorer to assist you. Before we begin the installation process, let's go over the required tools and materials you will need to complete this project. You will need either hex keys or drivers in the following sizes: Torx T25, 2.5mm, and 3mm. I'm using a ratchet handle as shown here, but either a bit driver system or individual keys would work as well. You will also need an inch-pound torque driver capable of 35 to 62 inch-pounds. You will need a small torch as the style shown here. Avoid the larger style of torches because they can deliver too much heat over a wider area. The area that we need to deliver heat to is a very small and precise location. A small torch like this works great. Medium strength thread locking compound, degreasing agent, and some Q-tips or swabs and patches work great to apply your degreasing agent to your screws. We will now put a list of all the tools and required materials on the screen. You can pause the video now to take notes for future reference. Now we're going to review all of the parts and included pieces to make sure that you have all the parts present and you understand where they fit in the installation process. First, you will have the extension itself. Next are the 2 side rails, one of which features the QD socket. The new barrel yoke, 4 M4.7 by 14mm screws, 3 M5.8 by 12mm screws, 2 M5.8 by 14mm screws, and 1 M5.8 by 8mm screw. Also included is 1 piece of Picatinny rail section that you can install in the position of your choice. The first step when working with any firearm is to verify that the firearm is unloaded and your work surface is clear of any ammunition. Begin by putting the firearm on safe, removing the magazine, locking the bolt back to the rear, and checking that the magazine, loading area, and chamber are clear of any ammunition. We can now recheck this to double check that the firearm is unloaded. Next, we are going to perform a field disassembly of the rifle. We are going to remove the trigger module, buttstock module, internal bolt group, and return spring in accordance with the firearm user manual. If you have any questions on how to perform this, make sure you check the owner's manual that was included with your rifle or contact the manufacturer. Now we are going to remove the 2 forward barrel screws. One is located on one side of the rifle and the other is on the mirrored location on the other side. These screws are captured ratcheting screws. They will make a clicking ratcheting noise as you loosen them, and because they are captured, they will not come out completely. Loosen the screws until they reach the end of their travel. Loosen the 4 rear barrel extension screws. These are also T25 Torx. 2 are located on one side of the rifle, and the other 2 are mirrored on the opposite side. Do not attempt to remove the center screw, which is the receiver assembly screw located in the middle of each block. We are only removing the screws with the T25 Torx head. These screws are also captured. Loosen until they reach the end of their travel. Now we are going to remove the bottom rail section by removing this screw here with the T25 Torx bit. This screw is secured with high strength, high heat thread locker. It will require some localized application of heat to remove this. Be sure to use caution as the rail and screw will be hot, so having a rag or a mitt nearby is always a good idea. This step requires some patience. Take your time and make sure you heat up just the localized area of the screw. Do this slowly and exercise patience. This might be difficult. If you've tried to loosen that screw and it still won't budge, again, take your time and apply more heat until it does. Don't strip out this screw. That will make removal and installation of the rest of the process extremely difficult. And again, use caution. This screw and bottom rail are going to be extremely hot. So we'll set this aside to let it cool. And if you want to go ahead and take a break while this bottom rail cools, that's perfectly fine too. Now that we have this rear screw removed and we've taken some time to let this bottom rail cool so it's safe to the touch, we can remove the barrel, bottom rail, and yoke, which is on the inside front area right here. How we're going to do that is we're going to slide the whole barrel assembly forward, and then we can lift up on the rail, which has the factory yoke still attached to it. And we can slide the barrel forward so we have clearance in the receiver to remove it. Set the bottom cover and yoke and the screw aside in case you ever wish to return the rifle to its factory configuration. We are now going to remove the factory side rails with the 2.5mm hex key. Remove all 4 of the screws and set the side rails aside in a safe place. If during removal of the factory side rails, these factory threaded blocks came out, that's okay. We are going to reuse these. They simply slide into the receiver, groove as shown, and slide back to the position so it aligns with the hole. Now is a good time to gather all of the screws and degrease them. This will allow the thread locking compound to adhere properly to the screws. Repeat for all of the screws. We can now apply a small amount of medium strength thread locker on each of the screws. Repeat for all of the screws. Install the rails into the receiver, lining up the lugs. Snug down each screw, but do not come to your final torque. We will torque down every screw at the very end of the process. Tighten both of the screws evenly on the rails. Now we're going to install the barrel and the yoke into the receiver. Begin by installing the barrel, lower it into the receiver, and slide it back slightly. This will leave room for the yoke. The 2 tabs of the yoke go into the receiver, and we can slide the barrel all the way to the back. Now we can start the barrel extension screws, but do not tighten all the way. Just get them started. Repeat for all of the screws. We are now ready to install the extension. The easiest way that I've found to do this is to put the receiver upside down, and then we can slide the extension over the barrel, and then making sure the yoke engages in the extension, and then we can slide it all the way back and down towards the rear. We are now ready to begin installing the screws onto the extension. You will need your 3mm hex key and your Torx T25 bit for this process. We'll begin with the 1 small, short socket head cap screw and 3mm hex key. This will install on the back bottom of the extension. Don't worry about final torque, just snug the screw. We will tighten everything to final torque at the end of the process. Now using your Torx T25 bit and the 3 M5 0.8 by 12mm screws, we can install these on the bottom and sides as shown. The first screw will go in the bottom. And the remaining 2 will go in the forward side position. Note, this is on the extension and not on the side rail. Make sure you put the remaining 2 screws in this forward hole towards the muzzle. The last 2 screws we have remaining are the 2 M5 0.8 by 14 millimeter screws. These will go in the remaining holes on the side rail. This will engage into the yoke. We are now ready to begin tightening all of the screws to their final torque. You will need your inch-pound torque driver for this step. The first screws we are going to tighten are the barrel extension screws. There are 2 on one side of the rifle and mirroring 2 on the other side. The torque value for these screws is 62 inch-pounds. Do not over-tighten. Next, set your inch-pound torque driver to 45 inch-pounds. We will tighten the remaining T25 screws located on the side, bottom, and opposite side. Repeat for all of the screws. We will tighten the socket head cap screw in the rear, also to 45 inch-pounds. Last, we will set our torque driver to 35 inch-pounds and tighten the 4 side rail screws with our 2.5 millimeter hex key. We have now completed the installation of the Midwest Industries SCAR extended length handguard. We can now reassemble the rifle per the manufacturer's directions. Again, if you have any questions on this process, make sure you check the owner's manual that came with your rifle. We hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or need any assistance, don't hesitate to contact the technical support staff at Midwest Industries, either by phone or on the webpage. Again, if any part of this video or the instructions don't make sense to you, or you don't have the proper tools, do not hesitate to seek the assistance of a qualified gunsmith or armorer to assist you. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.